the For You Fitness podcast, and today's episode we will be sharing easy and practical tips to help you feel confident in the kitchen. Now, I'm no cooking expert, but I've got a culinary queen right here.
Thank you.
She goes by the name Chef Alexia, and she is a boss, like lioness style boss. She was a contestant on Top Chef Athens, Greece, one of my favorite shows. Oh my God. She was also a former executive chef at a restaurant in Miami, and currently is the COO of the restaurant called Ethos Greek Bistro in Boca Raton. And not to mention, she's also a For You Fitness client. So, holy moly, this girl is the real deal. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you summed it up very well.
Yes, okay.
I've been doing a lot of things simultaneously, so life has been very, very giving to me, and I'm very grateful that you have me here to share my story, because I went through difficulties in the kitchen like everybody else.
Oh, you started from somewhere too?
Yes, water wouldn't boil, and I couldn't figure out why.
Water wouldn't boil, yes. There's so many things to learn. Oh my goodness. All right, so let's do this. Let's get started. We're gonna start with some absolute basics.
Yes.
So, what would you tell a person who's got zero experience, the absolute beginner? How do they get started in the kitchen?
I think the most important thing is for people, first of all, to feel confident. We need to understand that we're going to go through a process that is going to be trial and error. So we shouldn't be discouraged. We have to continue to try to figure out what's going on in the kitchen. So to start a little bit, I want to go with 5 tips that I have for most people that work in the kitchen. And not to be afraid, you have to, first of all, be prepared.
Oh.
So I know that sometimes we decide to take a recipe and we say we're going to go to the supermarket, we find ourselves in the supermarket, we go home and we have forgotten half the ingredients. So I'm going to say be prepared as far as your shopping list, be prepared with your full recipe, and just make sure when you're in the kitchen that you have your cutting board, you have everything set up for success. So you're not going to be looking for the spatula that you need in the middle of the salmon being seared, and you need to flip it, then you don't have your spatula. It's that simple. Be prepared, because the preparation, actually in culinary school we said preparation is everything.
Okay. Just like life in general, you've got to prepare.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And be ahead of the game, so you foresee yourself not to do any mistakes. So be prepared. Have your shopping list, have your game plan on, know what you're going to make, and go and execute.
Okay, that's a good
So
start.
that's my number 1 tip and the first tip to get started in the kitchen.
Okay.
The second tip was to be efficient. We have to be efficient in the kitchen, because I think most people, they're afraid to go in the kitchen because it just takes too long. I have to wash a lot of pots afterwards. It doesn't have to be like that. With your game plan, when you got prepared, now you have to be efficient by having the correct pots, the correct utensils, the correct knives, and we could go deep dive into knives. It's like a whole subject on how to choose knives, and that will make you efficient when you go in the kitchen. So therefore, you're not going to feel it's a daunting experience. That would be my second tip. I think my third tip would be experiment. So when you first start, I remember the first time I used curry, that did not work out for me. No, and I said, just go little by little, put a little bit curry, taste it, see how that goes, and then put a little bit more. Like, you have to fine-tune also your taste by experimenting. So don't be afraid to put spices, blend them together, make a mistake, and just keep going. You gotta keep going.
So it doesn't have to be perfect all the time.
No, it does not. It does not. Nina, it does not. It's going to be bad. It's going to start bad, and it's going to keep going better. So it's like, don't be afraid to experiment with your spices, with even the ingredients that you use as far as proteins. There's so many ways you could go. You just have to keep going and keep getting yourself in the kitchen and not be afraid. You're going to burn something, the temperature is not going to be right. You're going to learn how to control, the medium heat to the high heat.
Right.
So it's like, you got to go step at a time, not be afraid, and keep going. So the third tip would be definitely experiment and keep cooking.
Okay.
The fourth tip, it leads me right to the fourth tip. We have to taste our food.
Oh.
This is very important, because how many times you sit on the table and the cook will say, oh, I could put a little bit more salt, oh, I needed a little bit more of this and that. So before we put it on the table, we have to taste it. We have to make sure what we're serving to our loved ones actually is good. Actually, like when I was in the kitchen, in the restaurant, inside the kitchen, I would taste every single dish before it went out. If I made a risotto, I would taste it, make sure it's perfect before it goes out.
Now, when you say taste, what are you looking for? Like, what are the senses? Like, what is it exactly that's going on up there?
Yes, you know what is going on? I want to put it, taste it, and say, this is good. This is amazing. I will come back to eat this. I want to create the feeling of euphoria when you eat something and you close your eyes and say, this is good.
I'm hungry right about now.
It's like we have to make sure it's perfect because I believe food is a sharing experience. So we want to give an emotion to the people that we share the food with. Which leads me to my last tip. You have to cook with love. Love?
What is this? Cooking with love
is the most important ingredient in a recipe, believe it or not. And people will feel your energy when you put it in food. I used to walk outside the restaurant just to talk to our guests, and I had people kiss my hands and they say, is it you in there? Because I feel like it was a grandmother. I could feel the love in the food.
Wow.
I know that it sounds really weird, but energy does travel, and you have to cook with your heart. And I'm pretty sure you guys had food and you said, you know what, this just doesn't move me. It was alright. And it could have been seasoned perfectly, but it was not creating an emotion.
Got it.
So I know it's very simple, but you gotta cook with love. Sometimes I call that AKA salt as well.
Salt, yes. Don't fear the salt. It's okay, a little bit. Just a little bit.
Salt basically makes the flavors expand and bring themselves out. So it just makes everything a little bit more powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would be my 5 tips.
Okay. Well, that's insane. It's a little, I know for a lot of clients, you know, getting in the kitchen is extremely daunting, but the way you explain it, it's like this amazingly wonderful experience.
Yes.
And I get that because when I cook for even just my husband, and when he gives me a compliment, I'm like, I'll smile for days, you know, and it's that feeling, that euphoric kind of feeling that you get from cooking. And I don't think everybody gets to experience that. You get to, you know, the joy of seeing people smile and be like, wow.
I used to, whenever I make a new dish, I like to pass it out, and then I go and I wait. I wait to see the reaction of the person. If they close their eyes, I know I made the change. I did something.
Right.
It creates such a positive emotion. When you eat something you love, or a memory, it creates memories in that. Wow. Do you remember your grandmother's cooking, your mother's cooking? It's a memory.
I remember my mom. This is probably why I'm not a good, or I wasn't a good cook, or even just being around the kitchen. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you. Yes, good experiences, bad experiences.
Or bad experiences, you create bad experiences.
Yes.
And bad memories, for sure, yeah.
Yes. Speaking of bad experiences, I mean, tell me a little bit more about your first fails, like when you were in the kitchen, like what happened. And
I'm going to tell you the first memory of a kitchen fail.
Okay.
My mom had made, it's going to sound nasty, in Greece we eat like intestines. But I loved it, I thought it was incredible. So my mom was at work and I wanted to warm it up. And Alexia took the plate, put it on the stove, turned on the stove, and suddenly I hear crack! And I'm like, oh my God, I broke the plate. This is the way that I thought I had to warm it up. So that was my first kitchen fail. Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you about mine.
Yes, tell me yours.
Well, when I first decided to, you know, try to make some type of healthy protein concoction / pancake pudding.
Pancake pudding?
Yes. Well, my husband basically told me, he said, you might as well put a $50 bill in the oven and let it catch on fire, because that's how much money I was wasting on food, on these terrible, terrible things.
But you kept going, right?
But I kept going.
And what happened?
Yeah, well, this brings me to now. Yes,
fantastic.
Book coming soon, and you know.
Keep cooking. That's it.
Keep cooking.
And the book coming out. That's amazing, Nina.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. A lot of our audience are are female entrepreneurs, busy women who, it's not an excuse, but they do say, I don't have time to cook.
Sure.
I don't have time to be in the kitchen for hours at a time. So what are some recommendations that you can give them for, women on the go,
Sure.
so that they don't have that excuse in their back pocket?
Sure. First of all, I've been there. I don't want you to worry about it. There's recipes you can make in 15 minutes. There's recipes you can make with one sauté pan and that's it.
Okay, stop right there.
Sure.
What is an easy, quick, simple, and tasty recipe that is maybe a go-to of yours that you can...
I have one that I love. I just go to the supermarket, I get avocado, basil, I have hemp seed oil always in my house, so I don't need to buy any nuts, and I make avocado pesto. Okay? Avocado pesto, 3 ingredients, that's it.
3 ingredients.
And then if I don't have time, I will buy spiralized zucchini from the supermarket. It's readily available. It's just zucchini. There's nothing added to it. So I take the zucchini, I put on top the avocado pesto. It's a delicious meal. I love it.
And it's full of nutrients.
Full of nutrients.
And flavor.
Yes.
And color.
Yes. That takes you put it on the blender. That's it. It comes out. You eat it. That takes like 3 minutes, literally.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Done.
And you just wash the blender. That's it.
But you're right. I mean, spiralized zoodles and squash and everything is available now at every store.
Sure. So what I love about nowadays, because I remember when I started eating healthy, or I wanted to eat healthy back in the day, there was nothing in the supermarkets that didn't have sugar. I'm all about no sugar basically at this point. So it was very hard. You want to buy a dressing just to save yourself some time, and it was full of preservatives and things like that we shouldn't eat.
Right.
So nowadays you could go and you could find the zucchini, you could find the potatoes already cut. So I think a woman on the go, again, it goes back into having a game plan, be prepared, which I know you talk a lot about on your posts as well on Instagram. And go with a specific game plan. And what I want them to think about is, you could buy a chicken breast and you could batch cook it in the broiler, in the oven, and then you just make different spices and different sauce, different accompaniments, and you have created different kind of meals. So with one chicken in the oven,
basic boiled, broiled, baked chicken, you can add different spices.
you add tomato sauce and parmesan, and you have a chicken parmesan. You make, for example, like a butter sauce with lemon. You have chicken, and you put a little bit canned organic artichokes.
You had me at butter.
We could have that. I love my low carb diet.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So you could make things like that. You get a little canned artichokes and a little bit of capers, and you got yourself a chicken piccata. Or there's so many ways that you could go with chicken. So I want people to think about meal prepping. It doesn't have to be just broccoli and boiled chicken or salmon. Just put a little bit flavor. Make a little yogurt sauce. Make a creme fraiche sauce with a little bit of dill, and you have a perfect salmon with a beautiful sauce.
All of these things you've just spoken about have like 3 ingredients. They're
Yes.
minimal,
Yes.
but big
Right.
flavors.
Yes.
Huge flavors.
Yes. People need to understand that healthy food tastes amazing. You just need to know how to do it. So be prepared.
Healthy food tastes amazing, guys. It doesn't have to taste like cardboard. Get that image out of your head. Get those senses out of your. It doesn't have to be that way anymore.
And Nina, it's like food is such an important role in our lives. It makes us think clearer. It makes us feel better. So it's so important that we choose the right foods and not to be scared to step in the kitchen.
I just want to roll over and lay in your lap right now. Oh my god.
Come on.
Oh gosh. Now, being a foodie,
Yes.
you're exposed to food all day.
Yes.
You live in a restaurant, you work in a restaurant. I mean, you pretty much, it's around you all the time. Now, I know as a person who creates recipes, I'm stimulated by food all the time.
Yes.
That's a challenge for us.
Yes.
So how do you rein it in?
Sure. Nina, I'm going to start with the fact that I was extremely overweight. So I have worked in restaurants that they were not providing the healthiest of the foods. Therefore, that happens to be the nutrition that I was following at that point. Or you work in restaurants with, I remember the risotto. Oh my God, I told you I used to taste everything. The taste was not on the tip of the spoon. It was a tablespoon every single time. So I gained a lot of weight, but I found myself not feeling great, not for my outside appearance, mostly inside. I was tired all the time. So I made sure that like Ethos Greek Bistro, we serve healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not difficult for me to make the right choices. I just want people to and as a chef, it's like you want to taste everything.
Mm-hmm.
You want to taste from every culture, the pastries, the desserts, and all these things. But what I have figured out that I like to do to really back in is I could smell a lot of things and taste them by smell, so I don't have to taste everything.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I'm not interested anymore in the dirty food. I'm interested to see how different cultures are utilizing healthy ingredients, or let's say vegetables or proteins, in a healthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
Our world is evolving. People don't eat sugar as much. So I think I'm not even interested in that anymore. So the way I do it is just I choose to educate myself and taste things that will be good for me.
Wow.
Yeah, in my body.
Educate yourself. Be
Yes.
an advocate for your health.
Yes.
By choosing whole ingredients.
Yes.
And just cooking with love.
Yeah.
Cooking with
Yes,
love.
baby.
Alright, we are going to finish up with maybe 2 of your top tips, practical tips for our audience to take with them when it comes to being in the kitchen.
Yes.
What is the most important?
We did give the 5 important tips, so I'm going to use 2 of my top from that. First of all is taste. You have to taste it. If you don't like it, you're going to get discouraged. You're not going to go back. The people you share it with are going to tell you, forget about it. We'll go outside in a restaurant. You have to taste it and keep going. And the second thing is practical. You have to have great knives. Your knives have to be sharp. Actually, I'm putting classes together, online classes together, to teach people how to choose a knife, how to sharpen a knife. But you just need 2 knives in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You need a chef's knife and a paring knife. Start with that, play with that for a year, and then you could start adding boning knives and things like that. But nowadays we just go and we pick up fish already butchered, so we don't even need those things.
Right.
2 knives, make sure they work, and it will make your life so much easier when you're in the kitchen.
Wow.
Yes.
Blown away by that. Amazing. Chef Alexia, where can our audience find you?
So you could definitely find me at chefalexia.com online, on Instagram as well, Chef Alexia. Basically, all across the board, Chef Alexia.
Easy. Done. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please subscribe to our channel. Give us 5 stars. We would greatly appreciate. Remember, we do this for you.
Perfect.
That's a wrap.